that it's starting. Okay, so now we're live, right? So
I mean, that's what
I'm
it
happy
said.
for
it
you.
says that we're fucking live.
Yes, it
Is
does.
there really a fucking live thing though? Like that's what I want to know.
And it said it just pushed to your Twitter that
Yeah,
you're currently streaming.
Oh, really?
Yes, it
yeah.
did.
Okay.
So post that thing.
All right. Is anybody in here? I don't even know what the fuck. This is fucking dumb, dude. Okay.
But you gotta do the other link because the link that you wanted to share before wasn't it. This one is the one that I'm watching right now.
Yeah, I'm sharing it on thing right now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can't watch and be in it at the same time
No, no.
because the delay will kill you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have both screens up right now, but
All right,
that's
10 people just joined.
okay. Where did you see that? Oh,
I have the link right here. I can put it in the chat for you.
I see.
Look, there.
Um,
I
okay,
just sent you the link.
so we have people here now. First off, sorry, Google Plus is a piece of shit. um, so welcome to the first and totally botched WearTesters Trash Talk Live. I think we might switch the topic from Batman v Superman to talking shit about Google Plus Hangouts. But if you want to join in on the conversation, first off, it's me. You guys all know me if you're on the channel. We also have Jaren, the guy that everybody loves to hate. And then we also have Noah. He is one of our main editors over at WearTesters.com. He takes care of all the annoying stuff that none of us want to do. So if you want to join in on the conversation, make sure that you use the hashtag WT Trash Talk on Twitter. We'll go through there later on once we're all done complaining about this movie, and then we'll take your guys' comments and questions and theories and all that stuff, and we'll plug them into the video towards the end. So we have 118 viewers now. I don't know if
Keeps going
anybody's
up.
okay. Yeah, so I guess people are just they're into it now. So really sorry about the delay. I am totally not tech savvy, and we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So first off, we're going to go each of us in order with our likes, and then we're going to talk about our dislikes afterwards. So I'll go first. Batman v Superman, heavily controversial for whatever reason from both critics and the nerd side. And my likes were, one, the tone. I actually do like the tone of the entire DC cinematic universe. I like the dark, dreary stuff, a little bit more realistic and less goofy than Marvel. And then I loved all of the Easter eggs and the uh, ways that Snyder paid homage to all of the nerd stuff from the comic books. It was all over the movie. It was great. Just the Superman's coffin alone, seeing the black coffin with the silver S was dope. If anybody's ever read the Death of Superman series, probably my biggest like, and I would even emphasize that I loved this aspect to a degree, is Batman himself, both the Bruce Wayne and Batman version, or part of the character. I thought Ben Affleck fucking killed it. Didn't think he was going to when I first heard the news he was going to get cast. I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to see butt chin all day and all that stuff. But he killed it, so that was dope. The second thing that I really liked was Wonder Woman. I thought she was awesome. She didn't talk much, but she looked great, and
She was hot as hell.
yeah, the final battle scene was crazy. Like she didn't even need to talk during that scene. Her facial expressions during the battle was so sick. So I can't wait for her own movie. The beginning scene where you see the end of Man of Steel, but from Bruce's point of view, that was probably like the coolest scene in the entire movie besides the end fight scene between Batman and the henchman. And then the last thing that I liked, and this is a minor like, was making Superman flawed. So he was totally into himself and into Lois, and it felt like that was it. That courtroom scene where just everything blew to shit like that. That to me, like that, not only did it make me jump because I wasn't expecting everything to blow up hella loud, but then also I was like, yo, this fool is standing in a room with charred bodies that he didn't save at all. Like that shit, that was intense. That was crazy. That's what I mean by the tone. The tone of the series or the DC Cinematic Universe is crazy. They would never pull that shit in Marvel movies. It was nuts. So,
Had he been Batman, he could have saved them.
yeah, and if Batman was in there, that dude would have been dead. So I was a little bit disappointed, though. I thought that guy in the wheelchair was going to be um, Metallo, but they didn't go that route. So I think that would have been cooler. But that we're not going to get into my dislikes. So now I'm going to shoot this over to Jaron. What were the things of the movie Batman v Superman that you did like?
Okay, so after Chris and I saw the movie, he asked me, he said, before you say anything, did you like the movie? And I kind of sighed. Yeah, I kind of sighed, and I was like, yeah, I did, actually. I actually liked the movie. But then, as I had time to think about it, I think I liked the experience of going to see this movie, and I actually didn't like the movie. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when me and Chris got to the theater, I was pumped. I'm like, I can't wait to see what this movie's all about, all the negativity, and then there's people who love it and people who hate it. Then when we went into the theater, there was nobody. Like, literally nobody in the theater. And then by the time this movie started, there was probably about 10 people. Like, easily, that's it, 10 people. And so then we were watching the movie, and I was like, oh, I'm actually enjoying this, and then everything went to crap. So I'd have to say that I'm okay with the movie, but huge missed opportunity. I'm just like everyone else. Of course, I like all the Batman stuff. I don't think it's perfect, but
No.
I really like the Batman stuff. I would say my singular favorite part of this movie, besides the beginning, which made Man of Steel better already, was just Bruce Wayne. Not Batman, just Bruce Wayne. That was when I was most engaged, where it always looked like he was thinking of something. I thought that was the best acting. I thought his interactions with the other characters made those characters better by their performances. So, I mean, if you were to talk to me right after we saw this movie, I'd have a lot more things that I would say that I liked.
True.
But as it marinated, as it sunk in, just Bruce Wayne, that's the really only thing that I could come away saying that I absolutely liked in this movie. So
the one singular thing, just Bruce Wayne, that's it.
well, the Batman stuff too, but there were even some Batman things that I didn't like.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, but everything Bruce Wayne did pretty much killed it, especially with Alfred. And one thing I want to say before I forget, you know how Alfred had the voice modulator or changer, and he was testing to see if it was broken? I forget who said this. I won't take credit for this, but someone said this. Wouldn't it have been hilarious if he tested it and it was Kevin Conroy's voice or some shit like that? That would have been hilarious. But see, the thing is, Snyder would do something like that because he did shit like that throughout this movie, but he just didn't do that. So again, Bruce Wayne killed it. Batman, good, not perfect. Everything else, I could pick the shit out of. So we'll get into that later.
Okay, go for it, Noah. You're the one that, out of the three of us, that definitively 110% you did not like this movie. So with what little you might have liked about it, just let us know.
The one thing that I liked about it was how much referencing or referring to comic books that he did. And it's also the movie's biggest tragic downfall.
Yeah, it's
a
very big dislike of mine.
He just throws as much stuff in there as possible, and none of it makes any sense. None of those things occur in the same timelines, in the same universe, in the same anything. So he's got Death of Superman, he's doing Injustice, and from what it looks like, it's Injustice 1 and 2. He's got dark side in there. It's just all of it all together all the time, and it
So
didn't
what did you
make any
like?
sense to me.
Was his answer
So
nothing?
Yeah. So what part did you like? Was it the credits or what? Like.
Wait, set the
Wonder
tone
Woman.
first. Set the tone
Oh.
first. Coming into this movie, what were your expectations based on the trailer? Did you think it was going to be good? Because remember, I came into it expecting it to be crappy, and Chris was expecting it to be good. What
No,
about
actually,
you?
when we were walking into the theater, remember how I told you I don't know what to think right
Well,
now
that was
because,
post reviews.
well, yeah, but that was because of the reviews. I
Right,
was
right,
so
right, right.
like I didn't know what to, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen.
Yeah, but
So
pre-reviews, we were
pre-review,
on opposite ends.
I was just more excited,
True.
but you know what I
What
mean?
about you,
I
Noah? What were
was
you?
not excited.
Oh, really? You
I
weren't
was not
excited
excited.
either? Oh, wow.
No, because I saw the trailers and I saw how much they ruined of the trailers, and I think that I was mistaken about what the movie was supposed to be, or what it was advertised to be.
Yeah. Well, actually,
So
with that, let's go into something. Let's go directly into the dislikes. And this is the first one. I actually didn't write it down, but then it's something that me and Jerem both looked at each other and pretty much agreed on as soon as the movie ended. Was the movie should have been titled Dawn of Justice, not Batman v
yes,
Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Right. That's a
yes,
quick, easy fix that if it was called Dawn of Justice,
I think that
people's
half of the
expectations
yeah
would be
half of
different.
the hate of the movie automatically would be lifted if they
Right.
would have just titled it correctly or appropriately. Um, so moving on from there though, that jumps right into the editing and the choppy storytelling that was in this movie. Like the editing was like we're talking like as YouTubers, we love jump cuts. It's what it's what makes simple videos simple. You don't do that in a super expensive, multi-million dollar budgeted fucking superhero flick. Like the jump cuts didn't just go from one scene to the next. They went from one plot to the next, and it was like really weird to watch. Um, the first chunk of the movie, maybe like the first hour, I did enjoy, even though it wasn't told in a coherent manner. But I liked what they were getting at, and then from like that flash scene where he was going through the time stream or whatever, it's at that point onward where the movie just kind of was. I was like, what are they doing here? And then let's see. It to me, it felt like this movie was made not just for DC readers and fans, but it was made for people that really only understood the core concept of these characters, like backstories and certain, like you were talking about Injustice and maybe the New 52 and stuff like that. Like it felt like if you read comic books, you can piece together what they made this movie into. But if you have no recollection of any of these stories, you know what I mean? Like if your only um, association with these characters is the movies that they've ever been in, you'd be completely lost from start to finish. Especially if some people didn't even see Man of Steel, and then you jump into this thing, literally leaving off where Man of Steel left off, and people would be like, "What the fuck is going on in here?" I just think that was just a really weird way to tell the story.
Well, well, it shouldn't be like that, right? It shouldn't
Correct.
that shouldn't happen, and that's great. The people who love the movie are the people that you just said, the
That
people
are
who know,
heavy.
right?
Not
And
only that, but they're heavy comic book
yeah,
readers.
they're sweaties.
Yeah.
Speaking of sweaty, I'm sweaty right now. It's hot,
So am I. Try getting a Google chat
yeah,
going
but
like late. So,
but it shouldn't be like that. When people argue with us, when they say there's some people who understand that
mhm.
this movie is for that particular person or reader, but then there's the people who are like that understand this movie has problems.
Yeah.
But for those people who don't get that, they try to argue with you. They say, no, 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 no. What are you thinking? This is a good movie, and we shouldn't have to have this knowledge coming into this movie. It should be there, but it
hmm
shouldn't be. It shouldn't. The movie shouldn't be good based on what you know, and that's the
That's
main problem with the movie.
it was a little bit of don't treat the viewers as idiots, but then it was a little bit too much like that they should already know this. You know what I mean? And it's like if any of our parents watch this movie, like I don't even know what they would think. They'd probably be like, "What the hell is this?" There's so much stuff going on all at once. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy. It was very intense. Another huge dislike for me. I liked the music in most of it because I didn't notice it, but when Luther came on, I don't know what the fuck that soundtrack was,
Which
but it was
one?
like the Luther music, the Lex music.
I
I'd
thought you
even
were talking about the Wonder Woman music, because in the
no.
theater you were like, I hate this song.
No, it was the Lex music, the dun dun, and I was like, what? And the first time that it went on, I was just kind of like, okay, this is a little throwback to, Kevin Spacey-ish type of Luther and stuff. And then they did it again towards the end, and I was like, this movie's, or not the movie, but this music's like super hokey, dude. Like, because they went from super realistic tones and sounds to this just in your face like bass, and like I was like, what the fuck is this? And so it just made me laugh out loud, like literally, because that music was horrible.
Lex Luthor made me laugh out loud.
He did not make me laugh out loud. I still don't. He's not on my list of dislikes. He's not anywhere because I just don't know what to think of him. Um, Doomsday, Doomsday was a huge disappointment. First off, why was he there? He was there to do what? You know what I mean? Like they changed his powers. Like he doesn't absorb energy and deflect it like that. Like he's not Bishop. That's Bishop's powers. Like they straight stole Bishop's shit and put it in this rock creature, dude. Like I was like, what the hell is this? And then they literally they wasted such a dope story with the death of Superman with 15 minutes of movie time. And
Yep.
why? You know what I mean?
Well,
There's
it's
a
because he doesn't have any patience, like we talked about.
oh, I know, but that's the
He's,
thing though, is like I have patience for this. Like set that story aside. Maybe Doomsday will come back. But even if he does, to me it's like you've already killed Superman once and you know he's coming back for Justice League. And so it's like, why did you bought like that? Just I was like, dude, really? His connection to Lois Lane was straight stalker status. Like, I don't know where he was when she was in Africa or whatever the fuck she was in the desert, but how the fuck do you hear this shit and know that that's Lois and then like go and you know what I mean? Like that was they set up the beginning of the movie so dope with how people should feel whether it's positively or negatively about Superman due to what happened at the end of Man of Steel, but then they threw in this other crap with the Senate scene, which was actually good, and then that Africa scene or whatever, the desert scene, and that where I was like that was completely unnecessary. So the whole connection to Lois thing was like real weird. Like I don't care how much you love this chick, that was real strange and shit.
And she's a huge part of the movie.
Yeah, it was so.
She's in a lot of it.
Dude, the kiss in the middle of the battle, like I was like, no, 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 no. Like don't switch focus from oh this is so serious to hey babe, how you doing? You know what I mean? To gotta go. Like I was like, what is this stuff, man? Like it was so crazy. The Super Friends thing, and I call it the Super Friends because they introduced the League characters so weird with the Lex made icons. Okay, like how do these guys have logos? Like for in a file, like I was like, what is that? The Cyborg one was horrible. And then
And then why would you actually use those logos on your costume? Like it doesn't make any sense.
that's what I mean though. It's like who made this up? Like this is so strange, dude.
wait, so let's talk about that email, because
Okay.
part of me says, oh, I don't like that scene. It should not have been there. Or it should have just been her opening it. Because I like the Flash one. I mean, I like
yeah,
that video.
The security footage was sick. I did not like the time traveling fucking Exo Manowar suit space or a
That's
Flash.
because it's an injustice suit.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
so
that is.
Yes.
oh
Okay,
man.
so wait.
What
Back to
was
that
dude?
email scene. I just have to get this off my chest because damn WB or DC for releasing a goddamn Aquaman poster, and then him have like
His was
literally
his
7
was the
seconds.
shortest.
But wait, this is my okay. Not only was it short, it was terrible. So
Yeah.
what? Every time a GoPro goes into the ocean, Aquaman's gonna come out and check it out. Oh, okay, I get it. He breaks the sound barrier in water, which is not something you're supposed to do. But No one cares about that. And then when he comes up, why are his eyes glowing? But then my biggest flaw, and I forget who said this. Someone said this. They said it looked like he was holding his breath, and I agree.
True.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, no, it could have been a distorted, like they were like, oh, we're underwater, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It looked like he was holding his breath. This is Aquaman we're talking about here, okay?
Yeah. No,
And
it was strange. I didn't like that whole thing. And then, like, why would Bruce be so foolish to just straight up email somebody and being like, this is you? That's like, what? Like, and I know that he's not going to have his email. It's not going to be like batman@batman.com or whatever, but like, still, dude, like, I was like, what the fuck? Well, you know, it's just like these little things where I was like, that doesn't make sense. It
yeah,
should be
everyone
like
knew who he was.
yeah, it should
And
be
how
like
did-
an encrypted thing, you know what I
How
mean?
did Lex know who the hell Superman was? Like, they don't, because the letters Clark was getting
Mm-hmm.
were from
Oh, yeah.
Lex.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that. They just imply it. And then you think about it and you're like, oh, wait, that was him, because the same letters Bruce was getting. So how? How does he know all
the
this?
thing with that is because he's directly connected to Lois, and then him and Lois, like Clark and Lois, they live together. So it's like you're not keeping a secret. The glass is not gonna hide that. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
your post address is the same as hers. All of a sudden, you're always like in the tights wherever she's at in trouble. It was so bad, dude.
That
Like,
was the thing that I was interested to see in Man of Steel, because, you know, you might be able to get away with that in the 80s and the 70s and
Yeah.
the 50s, but when going into Man of Steel, I was like, I want to see how they handle the Clark Kent situation. And in this day and age where you have, you know, reporters that don't even clock in, they just work at home, and they're like online reporters, and there was a hint of that in Man of Steel when Lois leaked that story to that dude, right? And I was like, okay, this is where the new age Clark Kent is going to be. Because, honestly, he has a pair of Ray-Bans on. Everyone could clearly see that this is Kal-El or Superman or whatever. So that was a thing dating back to Man of Steel that I was just like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
how could you not recognize that chin? I mean, he's...
Easily. Dude, the guy is yoked, okay? The guy is yoked.
In his
Straight
defense,
up.
though, the guy, Henry Cavill, was right underneath his poster in Times Square, and nobody gave two shits.
That's because no one gives two shits about Man of Steel.
I don't know. I like that movie.
But I have a huge disagreement with you guys, which is that you guys liked Man of Steel.
I didn't like Man of Steel.
Yeah, that was just me.
Okay,
That's just me. I'm the only one.
And when I said Zack Snyder has no patience, I rewatched Man of Steel before I saw this movie. And I realized that there's so many great lines in this film, but Zack Snyder didn't let those lines marinate. They didn't sink in. Like Chris said, it was really jump cutty, where the scene where Clark Kent's dad is showing him the ship, and he's like, you're the answer to are we alone in the universe? And then he just says the next line, like right after that, like, let that sink in. And then especially the line where Clark is like, can I just pretend to be your son? Immediately after, his dad is like, you are my son. I want to see, you know, that emotion, like the gravity of that line. And throughout the entire movie, it was like that, where it just kept going. And when I watched Batman v Superman, in the beginning, I was like, wow, Zack Snyder learned. Like, he learned how to let this stuff sink in, let the emotion hit the viewer, and then he lost it as the movie went on. And I was just like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But just to respond to BB Coach, because I know him and he's my dude. I went into the movie into an empty theater, right? And I was ready. I was ready to accept it, whatever it was. And the first 5 minutes were so off-putting to me. I mean, he's floated up.
Oh yeah.
No, right in the beginning of the movie.
I know.
Where he's floated up by these bats, and it's it doesn't make any sense at all.
I was shaking in my knees when that was happening, and then I was like, oh, it's a dream.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is that when he started floating up, I said, that didn't happen, and then he woke up, and I was like, oh, okay, you're forgiven. But, like, yeah, the intro was weird, but I did like the depiction of the murder of the Waynes.
yes, but it's like it looks so Zack Snyder. You know what I mean? Like you watch the first 5 minutes of that movie and you can tell that he's the one that made it.
Well,
And
Eh,
it just not that that's bad, just that I mean he said that he made it 3 times in the beginning credits, which is enough, to realize that he made the movie. But then like the close-up shots of like the pearls flying off and it was, I don't know.
well, it
It's
was
just
it was just one of those things
weird.
where when the movie started, I thought it was great to quickly brush through what we already know. That was a plus, right? That his parents died and everything. And then I thought that the way that they did it, like I said, they pay homage to like straight panels. Like it was crazy, just like Watchmen, where you're like, dude, this is nuts. Like I remember reading this shit, and it's right here in motion. I thought that was super cool. And then I thought it was interesting how he
But which
found.
book?
Well, that was the Dark Knight, but still, it doesn't matter where you pick and pull from, as long as it makes sense, and that's what the main thing with the story is that none of it made sense. But you can still have the comic book homage stuff in there and have it be like whatever story it is, because they do that all the time in all movies, all the little Easter eggs and all that shit. It's just that I think he tried to tie
Yeah.
in homage with story, and they don't go together. You know what I mean? So
Because
that's
when I went into it,
hmm
when it said Batman v Superman,
yeah.
I thought that it was The Dark Knight Returns, right? Which makes sense. That's the only time they faced off in the time period supposedly that they're in, right? That they're
Yeah.
slightly older. Apparently, Batman is nuts now and kills people, which I
Well,
didn't know was a thing.
yeah, I was just that was my next negative, but go for it.
So he kills like 50 people in this movie,
Yeah.
right? Which is like something it's like Daredevil being blind.
you guys didn't
Daredevil is
like that?
blind. That's part of the character.
Well,
What,
okay,
that he
so
kills people?
Yeah, did
well,
that
no,
bother you?
here, let me explain the Batman killing thing. Uh, a lot of people, a lot of people will say that Batman's killed before in the comics, which he has. It's you know what I mean, and he's even done it in the movies, and most recently in Batman Begins, he did not save Ra's al Ghul, ergo you killed him. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like your thing. So, and my rebuttal to that is that recently in the comic books they've really pushed the whole belief of Batman's that you don't kill. Damian Wayne's entire character is about reversing the the murderous side or the vengeance side and just getting justice. You know what I mean? So they've really been focusing and pushing that. And then you have this new version of Batman in this movie, and me and Jaron, while we were watching this movie, he's doing the car chase scene, and he straight bashed that one car, okay? And then he bashed the one car. It's all visually appealing. It was eye candy galore. But he bashed through that one car, speared it, drug it, whipped it on top of the other car, and that whole time I was like, maybe they're still alive.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure. They could
know what I
still be
mean? Like,
alive for sure.
yeah, I was just like, there's a possibility that these guys are alive. And then the dream sequence when he cracked that one dude's neck, I was like, well, this is a dream. All is forgiven. It's all good. Then that last scene when he was trying to save Martha, right? And then he straight killed you, motherfucker. And I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like Batman is no longer a hero.
Hmm.
You are a murderer. You know what I mean?
But they,
Like that shit
they
was
could have
crazy.
fixed the whole movie really simply, which was make him the villain, and they didn't.
No, that's the thing is that I never felt like he was a villain. You know what I mean? Like
But had they made him the villain, it would have been fixed, totally
I don't.
fixed.
See, that's the thing too, is that I don't know about that. I thought, like, a lot of people had a problem with him branding people and then them getting killed in prison, but I was just kind of like, to me, I thought that at least made sense, being like, oh, you squealed, I brand you, letting everybody know that you talked to the bat, and then when you get put in prison, everybody fucks you up or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I understood that aspect of it, but the straight up killing, the grabbing a dude's neck and breaking it, barehanded kill, okay, like bare knuckle brawling, that was nuts. And I remember when we were doing the trash talk, me and Jaron, and it's after they showed that scene in the trailer, and Jaron was like, I don't know about this. He looked like he was marking fools, like, and I was like, no, he's not killing people. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, he's
yeah,
not
he
killing people. He's
murdered
just hitting
people.
them really hard. And no, he was straight killing motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
this is
Soup's
the
killing people too.
Soup's. Yeah,
Indirectly, Superman didn't kill anybody. His actions killed people.
it doesn't
Dude,
bother me that he killed people, Batman,
Hmm.
but it confuses me because to me there's a lot of different storylines thrown into this movie,
Yeah.
but the one that stood out to me the most was the injustice, right? Now, in the video game, which people are saying there's a lot to do with it,
Mhm.
and I played the video game, I don't remember a whole lot, but I do remember that Superman killed Joker. And Batman was hella pissed about this, even though it was the Joker, right?
Yeah.
And so if they're going along this lines, it just doesn't make sense because Batman's clearly okay with sending fools 6 feet in the dirt, like it's gnarly.
Hmm. Well, go ahead. No, I know you wanted to add something.
it just the injustice thing is interesting because if he wanted injustice, right, he could have gone with injustice, but he didn't. He's mixing Death of Superman, Dark Knight Returns. So like the part where he pulls the guy through the wall,
Yeah,
that comes
that was
directly from Dark Knight Returns. And they say that the panel in that book, he kills the guy. I don't agree with that, but like they mixed Death of Superman, Flashpoint.
Who said that he killed the guy pulling him through the wall?
So no, not when he pulled him through the wall. So in the book, as opposed to the movie, it was one of the only differences between the book and the animated films, which were great. They were absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Had Zack Snyder done a shot-for-shot remake of those, it would have been a great movie. But he didn't. So
That's
what he did was
a completely different story than what he was trying to tell also.
Yes, so he needed a line, just one line, that said that Batman is crazy now and he kills people. But he didn't have that.
No.
So in the book, in Dark Knight Returns, he appears through a wall and pulls a guy through it, and then he holds his big machine gun, and it says as like a action thing, it says like the clink of a bullet. It doesn't show the next thing though. All it shows is then him holding the child.
Yeah, see, for me, I read that scene in the book, and I did not think that he killed him. I just thought, wow, that was badass.
Exactly. And I didn't think that he killed him either. His whole thing is like the very first transgression is him killing Joker.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, is that he wouldn't even kill the Joker after Joker murdered all these people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like live on TV. We're talking about the book. In case anybody in the chat is lost, but and then only at the end he still didn't even kill him. He just kind of like paralyzed him. You know
Joker had to kill himself.
Exactly. So that's where I don't mind if you change Batman into a killer, but at the same time, like that's not Batman's MO. So it was just a little bit weird. So not a huge dislike, but just a oh, that's strange. You know what I mean? And that's exactly how I felt when the movie was done too. Was well, that was a weird movie. So, you know what I mean?
It was just weird because it was too many things mixed together. Like it just shows like how apparent the comic book, like the Comic Cons are becoming, how influential they're becoming on these films. Like when it leaked from Comic-Con, we had all thought that it was going to be Batman vs. Superman, Dark Knight Returns, right? Yeah. And that's why I went into the movie thinking that it was going to be Dark Knight Returns, which it wasn't.
No, so, but they did say throughout the however, like it was like 3 years this movie was in production, or not in production per se, but you know, since it was announced till it was released, it was like 3 years. But they did say that they did their own story, but they took little things like visual references from the Dark Knight, or you know what I mean, like a Batman v Superman type thing.
Like his costume.
Correct. Yeah. So, so it wasn't. They never implied in the beginning that it was going to be like that. They were just like we were saying earlier. It was more they drifted focus from the Batman v Superman aspect and went heavy into set up DCU with Dawn of Justice, and so it's like the Batman v Superman portion just got lost. You know what I mean?
Because if we can agree, the trailers were cut in such a way that they took the few little Batman v Superman actions and they cut them together with Doomsday stuff to make it look like they had a huge fight.
Correct.
But they only fought for like 4 or 5 minutes.
If that.
And then they fought Doomsday.
Yeah, that was a very quick, end battle, and I'm not going to say that I didn't like it because it was still cool, but I do treat that entire sequence as an homage to and less of storytelling. You know what I mean? Like that to me just was like a weak build-up. Like they built all this up for nothing. You know what I mean? Like it was just there was no payout afterwards.
When Superman,
I agree.
When Superman made Batman crash when he was in the Batmobile, it should have been at least like I don't know, it could have worked, but people are saying that they should have fought a little bit there.
That's what I'm saying. Like that should have been fight one. You know what I mean? Even if it was super. Like, this dude wrecked this guy's car. Anybody knows that you got a car that cool. Okay, I don't care if you're a billionaire or not. The first thing you're probably going to do is want to whoop his ass. So he should have stood up and popped him and been like, fuck, he just broke his hand or whatever might have happened, and Superman just binked him with his finger or something and then gives him the little speech. Even a little fight like that would have been better off than the nothing that happened. Like it was.
I also think
legit nothing.
I also think that the line, do you bleed? And then Superman flies away and he says, "You will." I thought he should have said that to his face.
I think they should have cut away to Superman's face flying away and then him hearing the "you will." Because otherwise, what's the point? Batman basically online trolled him. You know what I mean? Being like, "Do you bleed?" And then he leaves and says, "You will." You know what I mean? Like it's like what? Like come on, dude. So it was weird, man.
Well, okay, so let's talk about how little there was of the fighting, because again, it was called Batman v Superman.
I think we can all agree that was a complete misuse of words.
Oh, for sure. But what did you think of the fight what we got? Just don't put it into context of how small it was. What did you think of the eventual fight of Batman v Superman?
Go for it, Noah. I'll go after you.
I thought the fight was anticlimactic. It was not what I was expecting. And I was expecting, like, the whole scene, like, from, everything. When they fight, the whole big shebang, and it wasn't. It was just... It didn't make any sense to me. And what was weird was that, like, Wonder Woman, who was awesome, she totally steals the show from everyone in that movie. And, like, when he touches her at the party, she would never let that fly. Like, she would have thrown his ass through a window. Well,
so I rewatched that little clip in one of the, like, trailer things that was on YouTube today, and she did look back like she was about to, like, flip him or something, but then you can see her kind of click, being like, oh, wait, I'm in public. I can't let everybody know, because that's the thing with her fighting that picture, is that she was in hiding for so long. You know what I mean? She's just a prince. She's just a princess to the public of this generation or whatever.
But she made the fight scene dope. She was the only thing.
Think so?
I don't think. Yeah. See, I disagree with that, because I don't think she stole the show. I just think that she was a really nice highlight in the movie. Especially since we've never seen her before. Like, her first appearance in movie format was way more appealing than, say, Aquaman's, where we got him hitting a camera in the water. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you're comparing that, it's just really weak, you know what I mean? But
what if that was James Cameron filming Avatar 2.
Well,
And Aquaman was like, no, DC for life. You're
yeah,
done.
it's like that's what's been holding that movie up. Shit.
Yeah. Oh, no wonder Avatar 2 hasn't come out. Aquaman ruined the footage. Oh, no.
Exactly. Like
Oh,
if they would have been lighthearted like that, it would have still kept the tone, but still been like like real world funny. And that's where Marvel seems to really hit it, is that they are able to somehow balance the nerd stuff with the straight comic stuff,
right.
with the movie stuff,
Right.
and then make it all really make sense and be great. And it's a bummer.
As,
My
as far as
my last two.
oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say about the fight.
Hmm.
When I was watching it, I wasn't bothered by it so much. But then when I look back at it, I don't remember much. All I remember is that no one lives in Gotham, in that part at least.
Yeah.
They wrecked the hell out of Gotham, okay? Well, not hell, shit out of Gotham. And Doomsday, I don't know, like, he kept getting stronger, but it really only translated to him being bigger. Like, he never actually displayed, like, him getting stronger. It just he looked bigger.
See, that part right there is why the movie doesn't make sense for non-comic book readers, because the character of Doomsday was killed, reborn, killed, reborn, killed, reborn. Every time it happened, he was bigger, stronger, badder than the last version of him. You know what I mean? And that's what they were trying to show you with him taking hits, absorbing energy, growing, getting more bony, and then you know what I mean. And it didn't
That's all
work.
it was, though. Just
But
more bones.
that's what I mean, though, is that it just didn't work. It was like him trying to be like cleverly putting this style of character, like his origins or whatever you want to call it, like the backstory of him, into no words, only visuals, doesn't work. Like it just because you're treating the viewers as if they know this already. A lot of these guys don't even know what Doomsday was. You know what I mean? So it was just really, really weird the way that he decided to not tell a story with words, but to visually give it to you. And sometimes you gotta just talk about it. You know what I mean? Which is another negative, but we won't talk about it. But there was very little dialogue versus Batman and Superman, which there could have been dialogue galore, besides Martha. But so my last 2 points, though, of disliking it was, again, a repeat of the final fight with the death of Superman. I just thought it was really weak to use that entire great story in a 5-minute clip at the end of this movie as just filler. And then it basically ruins Justice League Part 1, because now there's no Superman. And so automatically that they're going to have to figure out or reacclimate the character, because he's going to be like weird in the brain and stuff when he comes back to life. It's going to be very strange to see that. And then the ties to all of those other characters, which we talked about earlier, was really weak. I feel like that they should have not had the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman in it, and they should have just focused on DC's Holy Trinity, which is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. I think that if they would have kept things simpler like that, and then somehow, I don't know, somehow made it so that this giant scene of Doomsday, because in the comic books, Doomsday's walking through the U.S. destroying things. Batman and Superman are nowhere to be found, and then it's the Justice League that hears about this stuff, and then they go, and we're talking about Guy Gardner Justice League, so it's not even like the strongest league members, and they go to try to fight Doomsday, and Doomsday just wipes the floor with them real quick. I think that that's how they should have introduced those cameo characters at the end, where you have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they finish off Doomsday, and then all of a sudden you see the Flash speed through and stop and be like, yo, what I miss? You know what I mean? And just have something like that would have been legit. So.
Well, again, Snyder literally has no patience. I have no problem. If Wonder Woman opened the email and she saw the picture, okay, no problem with that. Then she goes to the attachment and says metahuman, whatever, clicks it, even though the logo thing is stupid, but then that opens up and she sees the logos, that's it. I didn't need to see her click on every single goddamn one, right?
Yeah.
And me and Chris both agree that the Flash dream sequence, while awesome, it should have just, after the whole apocalypse like scene, the Mad Max Batman type thing, it should have just been Bruce Wayne waking up, a little electricity around him. That's it. It shouldn't have been the Flash. You couldn't even hear what the hell he was saying.
Yeah.
So that was such a sloppy scene. That should have not happened. It should have just been Bruce waking up, a little bit of electricity, because that would leave the nerds being like, oh, that's Flash. And then that would get the common viewer being like, oh, snap, Flash is in this stuff now? But instead, Snyder has no patience, and he just throws everything at you. And to your point of the death of Superman, we all know he's coming back. It's naive to think that they actually, for real, killed him. Yeah. Anyone could tell you that. Even my grandma could. Like, you don't need to read the comics to know that. But showing the dirt move at the end is such a ripoff from Inception. It just shows that he has no patience. That should have maybe been the opening to the next movie or something like that. But it should have panned down, no dirt move, that's it. Leave it bookend, because it'll be controversial and it leaves up for discussion, but instead we're just like, why'd you waste it?
My thing is that instead of having the dirt move, they should have panned down and paid another homage to The Dark Knight Returns. You heard a thumping heartbeat real quick, cut to credits.
Right.
Because that's how Batman did it. You know what I mean? Like, reversed it.
But like you said, they didn't want to treat people like idiots. Some people might have just thought that was a score type thing, whereas we would be like, heartbeat, right? But yeah. I mean, it's just like Snyder has no patience. They're playing catch up, and I understand that they have to a certain extent because they're 6 years behind Marvel. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it big picture wise, patience is going to pay off. It did for Marvel, and while they might have to go a little bit faster pace because they are playing catch up, like I said, if I was at WB, I would say, you know what, we might need to pump the brakes a little bit and really flesh out these characters because we want to care about them, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that by treating people as if they already know, but then still trying to explain little things that don't make sense, that's the part where about like if you're going to introduce these characters as if they already know them, do it, and don't give us the stupid file clips. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like not having an end credit scene to me is a bummer. Like I said,
we sat in there. Everyone was leaving. When I mean everyone, like everyone, 8 other people, but everyone left, and I was like, "There's an after scene thing," and Chris is like, "Oh yeah. We might see Justice League," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I didn't think that our introduction to the League were those dumb files. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it was weak. Noah, what do you think should have been the introduction to Justice League, or should they have done it at all?
So I think it's naive to say that Zack Snyder is responsible for all the bad things that happened in this movie, because he has, I'm sure, to answer to a few studio execs that know that they have to set up the next movies, and they're doing it the opposite way Marvel did it. So they want to get everybody together and then branch out and do all the movies. But Snyder, he can make a good comic book movie. He did it. He did it with 300, and he did it with Watchmen. You can read Watchmen along with Snyder's movie, and I love that movie. So, he can make a good comic book movie. Can he make a good movie is a different story. But he can make a good comic book movie. And so, with the Justice League and all that, I think that either we should have not seen them in this movie and then put it off, but setting up everything is what ruined this movie. Because it's a wasted opportunity, that's all it is.
For sure, but Zack Snyder is a big player in this DCU, whatever we're calling DCCU, whatever. DC doesn't even make sense. DC Comics, DC stands for Detective Comics, and then they add comics. It's stupid, but he's a big player, and he was the one. Chris showed me a video where he's like, we should kill Superman, and was kind of on the fence. Nolan was on the fence. Then Nolan was like, you have to do it. And then Snyder went to the studios and was like, yeah, we have to kill Superman. And the studio was just kind of like, whoa, I don't know. And he twisted their arm until he got what he wanted. So while I agree, not everything about this movie that's bad falls on Snyder. Chris Terrio is a little bit to blame. I think he kind of got overwhelmed because there's David Goyer and Chris Terrio writing this movie. Apparently, Terrio was brought in by Affleck, but
no, that
recently the rumors were deflected.
Yeah.
But Terrio is Affleck's guy. So while he wasn't directly brought in, the fact that Affleck was in here definitely had something to do with it, because you want to work with the people you like working with, obviously.
Mhm.
But Snyder is the director, and he could have easily, this isn't a Fantastic Four stick or whatever situation where the studio totally took over and was like, we're changing everything. The studio had a little bit to say, but at the end of the day, Snyder's the director. He got what he wanted, the death of Superman. He could have really stopped and thought about what he was doing a little bit more, but I think he rushed it, and I don't think it's all the studio fault, and at the same time, I don't think it's all Snyder's fault, but they are rushing it. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, I don't see a ton of either comments or questions or anything in Twitter with the hashtag WT Trash Talk. So real quick, if anybody's trying to say anything about their movie, whether it's their thoughts or whatever, go for it right now. I'm looking at them, and I'm going to pull a couple that are here. Somebody
there's a guy. There's a guy in the chat, Jaime. He really wants to talk about how hot Gal Gadot is.
Oh, she's hot. She's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's it. There's nothing to talk about.
She's smart too. She was a lawyer.
What?
Okay, so here's the story, real quick, because we're running out of time. She was a lawyer. She was a model, but then she turned into a lawyer. Her model agent called and said, I want you to try out for a James Bond part. And she was like, no, I'm a lawyer. But the agent was like, James Bond girl, you're doing this. So she went. She didn't get the part, but the same casting director of that James Bond movie called her for the Fast and the Furious. So she's smart, she's hot, and she's badass. She's a little bit too tall. We're all short. Okay,
no. She's Wonder
tall,
Woman.
bro.
She's
well,
an
I know,
Amazon, dude.
Like, we're talking real life.
She should be way taller.
She should be.
She looked fine, dude. She looked fine.
She's badass. I mean, I
remember, Chris, do you remember in the Justice League show how at first she was taller and then they made her shorter than Batman?
Yeah, but that's whatever. I'm not gonna. You know what I mean? That's a weird thing. But yeah, I do remember.
Clark Kent and how.
Okay, well, no. So Nick Gotcha. He says Clark changes his posture and vibrates his voice differently, which is why no one knows he's Superman. Now, I think that you're mixing up the Christopher Reeve Clark Kent with the Flash, because that's Flash's thing. Superman didn't change his voice at all. I think that, like Jaren said, nobody cares about Superman, so they just clearly do not. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I don't know. The whole wearing glasses and it actually works thing, hey, that's just part of the story.
Noah, take off your glasses right now. Where did he go? Shout out to whoever did that in the comments. Someone in the comments did say, so if Noah took off his glasses and went into super suit, we wouldn't know it was him? Of course we would. This is 2016.
Exactly.
And the other thing is that people in the chat want us to talk about Lex.
Okay.
Now, Chris didn't have a huge problem with Lex Luthor. I had a huge problem with Lex Luthor. In my opinion, Lex Luthor is only one person. He's absolutely formidable. He's super smart. He's very calm and calculated, and that is the opposite of what he was in this movie.
Well, yeah, no. See, I didn't love him or hate him. I was really indifferent with him. But again, the way that Snyder, I feel, is trying to tell you a story without words is there's this deleted scene that was just published on YouTube from Warner Brothers showing Lex gaining knowledge of all of these other worlds, right? And one of those worlds is Apocalypse, which is where Darkseid's from. And then you see the guy with the horns and all that stuff. And then when Lex turns around, he's just super, like, dude's straight face. He looked like regular Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? And so that's where I think he starts to become more arrogant and full of himself and things like that. But at the same time, they went back on that because what they actually showed you in the movie was him going fucking crazy, like going ding 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 ding, right? And then like if you're not a comic book reader, you don't know that that's the sound a mother box makes. You know
Was
what I
it
mean?
ding ding or ping ping?
He said ding ding, but in the
Yeah,
books they
it's
write
ping
ping ping.
ping.
Yeah, so they didn't
But he
even do
said
the
ding
Easter.
ding.
Yeah,
They
they didn't
couldn't
even
even
do the
get that
Easter
right.
egg right.
Yeah, oh my God. This is so. Look, I mean, look, the thing about Lex is Jesse Eisenberg was supposed to be, I think, Jimmy Olsen.
Well, originally
He
from
should
the
have been the
cast,
Riddler.
no, he
Well, he
was the
was like,
Riddler.
but he was supposed to be Jimmy Olsen, who was in this movie. He died in the beginning at that Africa scene in the desert or whatever.
Yeah.
But he made Zack Snyder feel so uncomfortable that Zack Snyder said, "Oh, you should be Lex."
Mm-hmm.
Originally, he had Bryan Cranston. Now, if anyone in the comment section has said or seen Breaking Bad, shout yourself out right now, pat yourself on the back, because Heisenberg is exactly what Lex should have been. Not just from an aesthetic standpoint. I see Noah nodding there. You seen Breaking Bad? Okay,
Yes, yeah, and he would have been the absolutely most terrifying Lex Luthor ever.
He's
And
so
they could have put him in a
conniving.
really nice suit.
Yeah, he's so conniving, he's so smart, but he puts on this facade of you don't really know what I don't know what I'm doing, but in his mind, he knows exactly what he's doing. Super smart, and quite frankly, the Lex that was written in the script was Heisenberg's. That's Heisenberg. But
Mm-hmm.
what Jesse Eisenberg portrayed was not what was written. He portrayed something totally different, I believe. Of course, I don't have the script.
Well, and that's where I feel like being a director, you got to step in and be like, no, 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 this is what we want. And to me, Lex Luthor as a character from the comics, especially during the early years, like if you don't count the green suit poisoned by fucking kryptonite version of Lex where he goes crazy, if you don't count that, the real Lex is basically an evil version of Bruce Wayne. And that's how he should have acted. He should have been very straight-laced.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like in your grill, like if you say something to him, does anybody here watch Arrow? Do you guys watch Arrow?
I don't mess with CW,
No?
but
Dang.
I
Okay, well,
tried to watch Arrow.
I've tried, Chris. CW not my
well,
thing.
the character Damien Dark in Arrow, that's kind of how Lex should be. Where if you talk back to him, the dude's gonna be like, "Yo, you out of here." You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's how I felt like Lex should have been.
But my question is, why have a Flash show, right, and get everybody involved in it, and then not have him in the movie? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, why is no one reacting to Lex? Like when he's at that function, the really nice function where everyone's dressed up, and he's like freaking out on the stage, like, no. I'm like, no one is reacting. He's a lunatic. Does no one see this? I mean, people did agree that he was eccentric, but he was far more crazy than just eccentric. He was a psychopath. I mean, that's the thing.
To me, that because like this Lex, this is Alexander, so he's the junior, right? So like there was a senior Lex before, and I feel like maybe that if we're playing devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna try to make excuses for him or whatever, but maybe that was just the way that they're used to this bratty rich kid, you know what I mean, that just does weird stuff and he gets away with it because his dad let him do it or whatever. I don't know. But that's how I felt like this character was. He was a rich, spoiled brat.
Right, but they didn't really go behind the motivation. And you could say he was a rich bratty kid because rich bratty kids do weird shit. I mean, whatever. But to kidnap Superman's mom, you have to be smart, right? You have to know, first of all, who Superman is. He knew who Bruce Wayne was.
Pause that right there, though, because that's something that's been bothering me with the fight between the breaking point where Superman and Batman go at each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's when Lex sends Superman off to kill Batman, and Superman can fly, dude. Like, why didn't he hover over that fool? Be like, yo, Bruce, they got my mom. I need your help. Like, that's it.
Well, he
You know
did
what I mean?
try,
Like,
and then remember
he was on the
leading,
ground though.
yeah, leading up to the movie, I was like, I want Superman to be humbled, but I want him to lose it.
Hmm.
And again, the movie didn't do a good job at showing you this, but what I think happened was that he was trying, right? He was like, Bruce, like, I was wrong, and then booby trap. And then he's like, listen, we need to talk, booby trap. He's like, no, you're not listening, booby trap. And finally, Superman was like, you're pissing me off. And he wanted to imply his strength. And then his plan was, I'm going to show him I could beat him up easily, and then we're going to talk. But what happened was Batman had, the kryptonite grenade, and he got fucked up. Like, Superman got beat the shit, and that's what happened. But again, the movie didn't do a good job of showing you that's what happened.
Yeah. They kept going back and forth between visual storytelling and verbal storytelling, and they didn't get either of them right while they were doing whichever one they were. Real quick on the Twitter side, I don't know how to say this. Inside JOB911, he says, I don't know why, but it really bothered me when Lex straight up blew his assistant up, and he's talking about Mercy in the courtroom scene. And if you've read
Isn't
the
it
book,
great that they made her agent?
well, not only that, but she's in the comics and stuff. She's an android, so we don't know if
She's totally indestructible.
yeah, she's not only indestructible, but she's rebuildable. You know what I mean? She's just a program. She's AI. So in the movies, if they go that route, she might not really be dead.
I'm stunned that Snyder didn't pan over to
And show it.
yeah, because
It's probably a deleted scene.
And they're gonna release soon, like officially.
Yeah.
But to the courtroom scene, I actually like that scene because they didn't show that, right? And it was a surprise. Me and Chris were just kind of like, boom,
Oh, I was
what
floored
just
when
happened?
that happened. Yeah, I was just
Floored, right?
like,
And
dude, that's crazy.
even when she was turning the T, I was like, okay, something's up here, but I wasn't expecting the whole thing to blow up. And that's my point about the trailers is I think if Doomsday wasn't shown, I wouldn't love it still, but I wouldn't hate it as much as I do, right?
Okay, but on that point right there, so first off, Jaron was right. We're on record that in Trash Talk when I said maybe they didn't show everything in the trailer. Nah, they did. They showed fucking everything. Okay, but again, devil's advocate, this guy Snyder straight lied and said, no, that's not even the whole thing. You know what I mean? And so it makes people like me that are like, maybe that's not the whole thing. And then when we saw the movie, it was the whole thing. And so I was just like, yo, like, why did you do that? So I don't know, man. That was a huge bummer.
It's rough what DC and WB are going through right now because, again, we agreed they needed to hit this one out of the park, and it looked like they did, even that they spoiled it, right? I still held hope that people were going to like this movie, but it kind of fell flat on its face, and I think a lot of it had to do with A, the patience of the director, and B, the advertisement.
Yeah.
We didn't get what was advertised, right? Everything. You could go to Burger King and buy like a Superman cup or a Batman cup, right? And you're like, oh, I have to choose, right? This is not what we got. They agreed fairly quickly, and it wasn't fleshed out.
The whole hashtag for the movie was who will win, and it's just like, bitch, they wouldn't even really fight.
Martha won. That's who won. Okay, so
right. Give him back to Marvel is what people would say.
Jump on that, Martha.
So what about Alfred?
Oh, Alfred?
Alfred was underutilized. That dude, I could watch a whole movie with just him and Batman talking shit to each other. Just me. I mean, that's something that was a negative to me also, is that they showed that Robin suit deliberately. And I mean, if you're gonna show a scene of why Bruce is Batman, you got to show a scene why Batman's a murderer now. Where was the flashback that broke the bat, that made him tip from vigilante yeah, from vigilante to murderer. Like, where was that storyline? So that was a huge fail for me. Um, and then I want to go to the Twitter things real quick. Somebody said, let's see. So I don't know how to say this dude's name. Rafe Shaha. I don't know. Sorry. He says that Batman doesn't get the Justice League together. He barely shows up. In the movie, he does though, which contradicts everything. I agree. In the comic books and in Justice League, the animated series, Batman's very focused on Gotham, and he wants nothing to do with the League. And it is what it is. But if you watch the Batman animated series, it's different, and it was told just like this, where Superman wants nothing to do with the League, and Batman and John Jones actually put the League together. It was just a weird version, but I agree. Traditionally, Batman wants nothing. He works alone. Especially if he lost a sidekick, he would want to work alone too. Bruce Connor is asking, do you guys want a standalone Flash movie? My vote is yes.
Of course.
So go ahead.
Of course. I mean.
What? Wait. I see Noah's shoulder shrugging. What the fuck?
Wait. Okay. So Noah's gonna. Okay. You said after the movie you didn't like how Flash looked. You thought the suit was weird, but also he has a mustache that's weaker than mine. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it. Okay, yeah. I've been growing this since I graduated high school. That was like 6 years ago. But I liked the way he looked, and just by the one little video recording scene that I saw, I liked it. I really think that I don't know his name. Who's playing him? Ezra Miller or something like that?
Ezra Miller.
I think it's a good, nice twist. He looks pretty hipstery, which is to me fine because the Flash is a little bit more of the lighthearted character in the Justice.
No. You're thinking Wally West. If he's Barry Allen, that's
okay. You're right.
Straight laced, dude.
They're different.
You're right, but
it's like Robins.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
He could have been Wally.
But they're taking stuff from everything. So
yeah, I agree.
It could be totally different, right? So, but why did you want to see a Flash standalone?
I would love to see a Flash standalone. It's just that with all his powers,
so that you can hate it afterwards.
So great. No, because I want to like it. But the thing is that his powers look great in the animated stuff, right?
Yeah.
How are they going to make them look great in CG?
Do you watch the Flash TV show?
No.
W.
See, you guys are. Who cares if it's the CW?
HBO, man.
No.
Netflix.
No. It's called. I don't pay for HBO. I watch CW. It's free. So, but no, you got to watch the Flash, dude, because what they've been able to do with that TV show on a TV shoestring budget, all they got to do is put a couple mil behind it, and you got some dope shit. So I think that the costume looks good. The painted on CG mask, not the helmet stuff, but the actual red, it was really bad looking. Like I personally didn't like it, and I think that he should be Wally and not Barry, but.
We never know.
Yeah, I don't understand.
No, he was cast as Barry Allen. Unless they change it, but that's what I've heard.
They could totally be throwing us a curveball, right? Because that happens definitely all the time. But
and it wouldn't make sense for him to be Barry Allen. Like he's way too young, and Barry Allen is the one that's in the Justice League, so they can't make it Wally West. But he could only be Wally West. Like it doesn't.
Well, Wally was a League member after Barry died. But
yes, but that's way off.
That's the thing, though, is that we have to think about this whole thing as an Elseworlds thing. Like this is all brand new, basically, and they're like Jaron said, they're picking and pulling from what they want. Same thing what they've done with Daredevil and Jessica Jones and all that stuff. They're picking and pulling from storylines.
It's kind of like
putting them together.
It's kind of like when you have like a figure from this thing and a figure from that thing, and when you were a kid, you would like make up your own little scenario, like, oh yeah, like Zack Snyder's literally like doing it.
He's doing that, but not doing it justice.
No, he's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but okay, so to wrap things up, because we're gonna go off here soon.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes. Going forward. Based on everything DC has, so far, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder, is he the guy And what direction do you want to see this whole thing go in for the Justice League Part 1 and 2?
Go ahead, Noah.
I have no idea where they're going.
Right.
I just don't. It's very confusing. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe that's their whole point to like so that nobody knows, you know, and they're just gonna do whatever they want.
Including them.
Right.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure how like now Batman wants to totally put the team together and all this and like just when is that a thing? But I think because the characters were so fundamentally not how they are in the books or in anything we've seen so far, I guess they can do whatever they want. Like they're obviously not held back by Batman killing people. They're not held back by Supes killing people. They're not held back by who forms the Justice League and who doesn't. So I don't know. They may go wherever they want to go. And a Flash movie would be cool. And don't they have to do one? Aren't they doing a Flash, Cyborg, Wonder Woman?
That's the thing. They don't have to do anything. This whole thing could get pulled, like the entire universe. So that's where I'm correct. Yeah. So this is where I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I hope that the divide between critics and fans doesn't ruin the chances of us still experiencing. Because no matter what my likes and dislikes of this movie were, if I were to say did I like it or not, and would I want to see another, the answer is yes. I want to see more.
Of course. Yeah, I wanted to see Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Yes,
I wanted to see Sinister Six. And that movie, Amazing Spider-Man 2, it made money. This movie made money. Mm-hmm. So I think that they have no choice but to get someone else. I know that sounds harsh or drastic, but...
See, I disagree, though, because I think that, and Noah alluded to this earlier, where I feel like Snyder put together probably a very good, cohesive, long, drawn-out movie, because that's how he tells stories. And I think that the studio was like, we got to cut some of this down because we want to be able to make sure that we get enough show times and money coming in and all this stuff, and whatever was cut out made the movie feel funny. You know what I
mean? The movie didn't have anything. I didn't feel like it was missing a whole lot. I thought what was in it had problems, and if they just reworked it, it would have been fine. But going forward, like the next Justice League movie, if it's still directed by Zack Snyder, a lot of people are going to be like, is this movie the same director as the last one? Because people are dumb, and they're going to say, look at the Rotten Tomato scores of that. It sucked. What's going to be different about this one? But if they attach someone like Matthew Vaughn or even David Ayer, who's doing Suicide Squad, and they put that onto the title card saying, because they're going to put from the director of Batman v Superman, Justice League. If they do something else, well, that's the thing. What are they going to do? They're just going to leave it in the background like that?
Well, see, I don't even think that makes a difference anymore. It's like from the movie, like who cares? Nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? Like we just want to see dope stuff. So
people are going to still think it's going to be the same if it's the same director.
It's possible, but I personally would like to give Snyder one more shot.
One more shot?
And see what he's got.
Shots.
Three strikes.
But it doesn't matter who directs it.
This isn't baseball.
But that's what. Yeah, but like Noah just said, it doesn't matter. It's the studio's going to want or do what the studio's going to want or do, and so I feel like the studio needs to let
people see it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to kill Superman.
They didn't say no.
They did initially. Snyder said they said no.
No. He brought it to them, and their response was what? And then he was like, "Yeah, it's going to be great." You know what I mean? And so they didn't say no, otherwise it wouldn't have happened.
So he can do whatever he wants, basically.
They trust this guy to tell a story, and then at the end they were like, "We need you to tell a shorter story." And he's like, "Shit, what am I going to get rid of out of all this epicness that he thinks he put in there?" And I think that what we got is what we got.
So you're telling me he couldn't make Batman v Superman a good movie in 2 hours and 30 minutes?
I don't know.
But it was 2 hours and 45.
Well, people liked Watchmen. That was long. People liked Dark Knight. That was long. People love long movies. So you telling me 2 hours and 45 minutes wasn't enough to get the story he wanted to tell. If that's the case, then he's not telling the right story.
That's the problem right there, though, is that I think that he needs to refocus and tell a cohesive story, because the starting point of Man of Steel into the way that Superman or Batman v Superman started was very smart. You know what I mean? Like, they could have easily have done just a Man of Steel 2, but they didn't. You know what I mean? Like, they were like, oh, what if we do this and that? And I think that was dope. I just think that they need to restructure it. I think that they should have focused less on the Dawn of Justice stuff. Like I said, kept it with just the Trinity. That's what Justice League Part 1 should be. I don't know how, because you ruined it by killing Superman, but they should focus primarily on, Wonder Woman and Batman. Somebody also in the chat said, how do you, BB Coach Superman said, how do you want Batman to find the other members of the Justice League?
Email. iMessage.
that's how it's going to happen. He's going to mass email everybody and be like,
add them on Instagram.
Yeah.
No? Shit. I don't know. We don't know, but
he's gonna swipe right on them on Tinder.
Yeah, he's gonna see someone's Tinder profile and be like, ooh, boom. It's just like, who knows?
Yeah, no, it's weird. One more person from the chat real quick. Bruce Connor, thoughts on Green Lantern and how he would fit into this DC cinematic universe? Do you think it should be the Corpse or just Hal Jordan?
Corpse. But at the same time, I don't know if that could work.
Yeah, I don't know if they could focus on that. Like, if they could barely focus on Batman and Superman, or Batman v Superman, I don't know if they're gonna be able to focus on an entire Green Lantern Corps.
I get that, but I think that character in general, I'm not sure. Like, I don't have a vision. Usually, I have a vision for how a certain character could be cool, like Martian the Manhunter. I have a vision for how he could be cool, right? Even Aquaman, I have a vision of how he could be cool because he's constantly mocked. Aquaman! For Green Lantern, I don't have that vision. What do you guys tell me on that?
I think that Green Lantern is a really interesting thing, but it's not. They never do the right Green Lantern. They always do Hal Jordan, and he's like the crappiest Green Lantern that they've ever done.
No. Hal Jordan's the man.
Fight.
No, it's not.
But they do need to bring in Kyle and John, because those are the best. Like,
John is the only one that matters.
Yeah, John is the one. Right.
He hooks up with Shakira.
Always bet on black, bro. Okay, that's what I've been saying since I was born. Okay, always bet on black.
And with that, I think we'll end the chat. So, I wanted to. There's 252 people still here. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a few good nerds talk shit about a movie. Okay.
I think that we should talk about Daredevil next.
Oh, dude, Daredevil, but fucking Jaren hasn't finished watching the damn series.
Dude, I am struggling. I watched like 5 episodes last night, and I don't get it. I don't get what you guys are seeing. I don't.
Okay, I'm about to mute.
They made everything.
I'm about to mute.
They made everything better.
Yeah.
Wait, Noah liked it too?
Even Noah liked it. You know, if he liked it, then it's got to be good.
And I hated the first season. All they did was crank everything way up. They cranked the violence up. They cranked the sex up. They cranked.
My problem isn't with the action. My problem is not with the action.
Oh, okay.
Did you like Jessica Jones?
No.
Okay, so
I stopped watching it.
Wait. Daredevil has one of the most memorable action sequences I've seen in quite a while. I will give it that. But my problems are not about the action. Holy crap! But the stairwell scene, yo.
Yes.
We gotta save that for a separate thing. Now that we know how to put on a fucking live chat, we'll do this better next time. Okay. So, again, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for everybody that was involved in the Twitter hashtag chat. Make sure that you leave your comments below. Leave us a like. Feel free to talk shit about Jaren in the comments, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.